planned on going over 3 new prospects, but we got a bonus guy. 4 new prospects. We are giving their film analysis on those guys today. Will Levis and his running back, Chris Rodriguez, out of Kentucky. LSU's receiver, Kayshon Boutee, and Ohio State's guard, Paris Johnson. We're going to get into all those guys and more right here on Locked On NFL Draft. Let's go.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I am your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, as always, want to thank you for making us, Locked On NFL Draft, your first listen of the day. Got a lot of good things to talk about today, diving into these prospects as we've done over the last couple of episodes. And this time, I didn't plan on talking about Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky, but watching the film on Chris Rodriguez, his running back, I just saw some really good things. And I'm like, you know what? I have to spend at least a few minutes talking about this guy. The first thing that jumps out to you about Will Levis, who probably gets a little overshadowed by the other quarterbacks in this class. You got C.J. Stroud. Of course, we know how good he is. Bryce Young. You know, you got the quarterback out of Miami. We're going to get into all those prospects, of course. But Will Levis, probably most notably known for eating the banana. I don't know if y'all saw the video. It was like circulating on social media. And if you don't follow me at Eric_Crocker on Twitter. But he ate a banana, like he ate the whole peel, like the banana and the peeling at one time. Like he just bit it and ate it like he was eating an apple, but with the peeling on the banana. Anyways, that was wild. While he was kind of like looking at the camera seductively and all that. But anyways, Will Levis, quarterback, the things that matter most. Big arm. And while watching film, I think that was something that jumped out to me consistently. You know, he definitely can throw the ball down the field. And it's like, all right, you know, a lot of guys can throw the ball down the field, but can they make the NFL throws down the field? Can they throw down the field with accuracy? And that was something where I saw him, I don't want to call them layups, but I really like their offense. They run like this kind of power offense. They'll run a lot of 12 personnel. They do big play action and bootlegs. It's a very pro-style type offense, especially to see in the SEC and college football. They almost run more of a Big 12 offense as opposed to an SEC offense. All right, but you watch and you see some guys running downfield, and he's able to throw the ball out there 60 yards in the air away from the defender and have the receiver run under the ball and catch it. Awesome. But can you throw that with accuracy as well? And I think that was something that showed up. NFL throws, especially down the field, those are things you want to see. C.J. Stroud showcased that against Utah in the postseason of college football last season, right? Just showing these big-time throws, dropping them in the bucket, over the outside shoulder, away from the defensive back. Those are the things I wanted to see from Will Levis. And I thought that those things started to show up, maybe not to the same extent or not even on the same like level in the sense of the competition, the stage, as what we saw from C.J. Stroud in that postseason game. But nonetheless, terrific, effortless throwing of the ball down the field. You talk about effortless, and I think the thing that makes it the most effortless is just his throwing motion. It's very quick. It's nice. It's precise. I don't think that he's someone people are going to say, you know what, he needs to rework this part of his mechanics. Whatever people are thinking a quarterback is supposed to look like, I definitely think he throws the football that way. And there are other things that he's going to have to work on down the line with maybe some mechanics or continue to work on things. Of course, right? We all have things we need to work on, and most quarterbacks need to work on something. But for the most part, there wasn't anything that I saw where I'm like, you know what, aesthetically, people aren't going to like that. Remember a couple years ago, Justin Fields was coming out, and guys were like, oh, loopy throwing motion, you know, brings it too far back, it dropped below his waist. You're not going to have those issues with Will Levis, and he definitely was a guy who got the ball out quick with timing and was very precise. I thought his accuracy could be a little more consistent. I could be nitpicking, but there were times where, you know, just kind of throwing the ball a little bit high and behind a guy. One time it resulted in an interception. You know, a couple misses here and there. But all quarterbacks are going to have those for the most part. I thought he was pretty accurate. I thought he was very decisive, especially for the offense that he played in. Again, big bootlegs, play action. He dropped back, he'd move up, step up. And when it wasn't quite there, he took off. And I like that. Showed the necessary athleticism that you would like to see out of a quarterback in today's day and age. And I mean, you don't have to be Lamar Jackson, but can you just move if need be? And I thought there were times where he moved to pick up first down, diving forward, showed that I think this is a guy who, at the end of the year, if we're talking about QB1 and he's in the mix, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm curious to see what he does. And, they got a new offensive coordinator, Rich Scangarello. I think Scangarello, coming from his time with the either Philadelphia Eagles or definitely the San Francisco 49ers, ran I don't want to say similar style offense, but, kind of like, just a lot of 2 tight end sets, things like that, big play action, bootlegs, the deep crossers where guys are just kind of butt naked, wide open. So those are things that are going to definitely match Will Levis' skill set, and you're going to see right away how his game translates to the NFL. I think he's a guy who potentially, when it's all said and done, is going to be a top 5 pick. And everybody's talking about the 2 guys, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, but wouldn't be surprised at all if he's in the mix for that conversation. All right, but let's talk about his running back, who I actually went to the film to watch. And right away, I noticed Chris Rodriguez, big, powerful running back. I try not to look at guys' height, weight, and all those things before I evaluate their film. And I was able to see his, 5'11", 225 pounds. So he's a big power guy. And I do that because I don't want to say, oh, he's a power back because he's 5'11", 225. Right? Like I want to say, oh, he's a power back because that's how he plays. And that was definitely something that jumped out to me right away. One cut guy. I thought the power offense that they ran with the 2 tight end sets, didn't have a fullback, but with how they ran kind of those with the motions and lead blockers, I thought that fit his skill set. He runs with power to finish off plays. That was really good. And he's going to have to. And the reason why he's going to have to is because I didn't think he was a guy that really made guys miss in the open field so far. Now, again, we're talking about me watching 3 films. I'll continue to dive into this guy's film and much more. But off of this film, you saw a guy who didn't really make guys miss in space. It was put my foot in the ground, get north right now, and take what's there. And if it's 3 yards that's there, then I'm going to take those 3 yards. If it's 5 yards that's there, and maybe I have enough momentum to knock a guy back and gain some league yardage, another yard or 2, then he did that as well. All right, but that was one of the big questions. Can he make guys miss out in space or in a phone booth, right? And we see that with some dynamic running backs across college football, right? Guys that can be dynamic and make a guy miss in space. I didn't quite see that from him. There was a guy, and I'm so upset. Did I not get his name? I did not get his name. And a running back there at Kentucky who they put him in to be that more dynamic back, number 0. Sorry for not knowing your name. 0, I'll find out who he is. Maybe that's the guy we should be talking about on this show. But he'd make guys miss in space. He's that more dynamic, hit the outside. But Chris Rodriguez is considered one of the better running backs in college football. Will that hold up throughout the year? Kind of reminds me of Zach Charbonnet, running back out of UCLA. But I think Charbonnet is a much better running back. So those are the things we're going to have that discussion between that type of style back, being a guy that maybe isn't as dynamic but still has, that power, that strength. Where's the elusiveness? Would like to see that a little bit more. But overall, saw a solid running back, solid in pass protection. They asked him to do some of that. And you like to see that because a lot of college football teams, they're not really asking their running backs to stay in there and block too much. You'd see him do that off of play action, did a lot of play action. He'd stay in there, block. A few times he just set up and would just blocking a free runner and things like that. But overall, Chris Rodriguez, solid. Will Levis, I definitely was more surprised in the sense of the prospect that he's probably going to be. All right, when we come back, we will be talking about Kayshon Boutee, receiver out of LSU. They're turning into kind of wide receiver aren't they? All right, but first, we want to talk to you a little bit about our friends over at BetOnline, betonline.net, and how is your number one source for all your sports betting needs and sports information. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And there's more. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's also the fastest and easiest way to check on all your favorite sports, events, including MMA, boxing, even some golf. All right, head over right now to the website today to use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action going on at BetOnline, where the game starts. We want to thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. For your second, third, fourth listen of the day, if you're someone like me that listens to a lot of podcasts, then the Locked On Network is for you. Tons and tons and tons of podcasts across different sports and all kinds of things on any platform that you listen to your podcast. So check into those now. Just type on Locked On, and you'll see everything that they have to offer. All right, y'all, let's talk about Kayshon Boutee. And this is a guy here who you see him wearing number 1. And I'm not going to lie, if you squint, you might say, is that Jamar Chase? All right, no, he's not Jamar Chase. Obviously, Jamar Chase, big-time prospect. But Kayshon Boutee, I don't know if he's to that level. And again, here's the hard thing to know. He looks terrific. I don't think he has, okay, if we're just talking about the difference between him and Jamar Chase, some of the things that jumped out immediately. Jamar Chase maybe wasn't the quickest off the line or was able to create the most separation off the line. I think between he and Kayshon Boutee, Keyshawn wins that battle. All right. I'd say with some route manipulation, I think Keyshawn might win that battle as well. But where they are not the same, and what made Jamar Chase so great. One, Jamar Chase was probably more of a freakish athlete. All right, I did see some good things with Bouttee being able to, the run after catch. I thought he ran his routes hard. They used him outside. They used him in the slot. He was able to win and run routes from there. But Kayshon Boutee doesn't have the elite deep speed that we saw from Jamar Chase and the ability to consistently win at the catch point the way that Jamar Chase did. All right, and those were the things that really separated Jamar Chase, and we've seen those attributes carry over to the NFL. A guy who can just really just out physical you at the top of the route, create just enough separation with that chicken wing, go up, attack the ball with his hands, and then use that 4.3 speed to outrun defenders. I don't think Bouttee has that. He does have the ability to make contested catches, but just maybe not as consistently. And that's what's going to be the big separator as to why Jamar Chase was a guy who was a top 5 pick. And Kayshon Boutee could be potentially a top 20 pick. All right. This is a guy who works well off the line of scrimmage. That was something that jumped out to me consistently, being able to really whoop guys and get them to be uncomfortable. All right. I'm always looking at the defensive backs at the line of scrimmage and trying to see, all right, is he comfortable? Is he comfortable just getting hands on with this guy? And there were a couple of times I saw him get stonewalled, but that was not something that was consistent at all. I thought 9 times out of 10, he was winning off the line of scrimmage and winning free. Now, the issue that he's going to run into is after he wins off the line of scrimmage, I don't know if he has that pure speed to just outrun defenders. So he can potentially get a little bit craftier at the top of his routes, and I think that's something that would really help him free himself up. There were a couple times where he had 10-yard stop routes, and he wasn't really able to get the cornerback going upfield. A couple times we saw it against Roger Mccrary. I thought Roger Mccrary covered him extremely well playing against Auburn. All right, Roger Mccrary, top of the second round, pick in the NFL in the 2022 draft. So this is a terrific cornerback. Some people are saying he's going to be a nickel. He's going to be an outside guy. We'll see. Definitely play outside this game. And I thought he gave LSU receivers kind of fits, right? Just because he's like, well, I'm comfortable. I feel like I can run with you, even though he ran 4.55 at the combine. Not very good. But you know what? I can run with these guys vertically, so I'm not really worried about it. And I thought Kayshon Boutee, when you're playing against a corner who maybe doesn't respect your speed or is saying like, you know what, I just trust my speed that much, then you got to do more to sell the go route or do a little bit more with route manipulation, all right? And I thought for the most part he did that well. Now, I feel like he lined up more in the slot than he did outside. So the benefits of lining up in the slot, you have more matchups that are advantageous to the receiver, right? You're playing more in space, probably more against, if it's zone, then you got a linebacker there, maybe a safety you have to be. If it's man, then you're playing against maybe a lot of teams, third best corner or even a safety that just doesn't come off the field and he has to play you. So you're set up for success when you line up in the slot as much as Bouttee, but even then, looking through some of the things he does well, strong hands, thought that jumped out. Ball tracking skills, there was one fade ball he caught. He ran a slot fade, and you had the safety coming over the top. You had the corner trailing him, and the quarterback, Johnson just dropped it into a bucket. And Keyshawn, I don't know how he did such a great job of keeping his concentration on that ball because he had a guy flying over the top, a guy underneath him. They're all over him, and he just bloop, catches it right over his outside shoulder for a touchdown. Those are the things that you definitely want to see from a guy, especially playing in the slot. Can he win vertically? And I thought from the slot, he definitely could. There were a few times where he won on slot routes and they didn't throw him the ball. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing and how you're working away from the ball. That's the benefits of having all 22 available, and I have plenty of LSU all 22 film. But you see that, and I'm like, you know what? This is a big-time guy. Run after catches there, ability to play and be versatile all over the field. Not Jamar Chase, and I was being funny when I said you'd squint. I mean, guys wearing the same uniform, same number. They look like kind of the same size, I think Jamar Chase is a little thicker. But overall, this is another guy who I think is going to be a terrific prospect. I'd say if there's anything he needs to continue to work on, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, route manipulation at the top of the route if you're not going to be able to just purely outrun people. And that's one thing I saw. Maybe I'm wrong, but, right now, and you look at what Justin Jefferson is doing. He's a guy that played primarily in the slot at LSU his junior year. Sophomore year, and before that, he was more of an outside guy. They moved him inside, and we see what he's doing in the NFL. NFL, they are doing a lot of tight splits, and it's not going to matter as much if you play a lot in the slot as long as you can win vertically. And that was one thing that I heard Kyle Shanahan say. When someone asked him about, what is it? How do you know if somebody can play on the outside? And he's like, man, if they can win vertically. And guys win vertically different ways. You can win vertically with size. You can win vertically with speed. Or you can win vertically with size and speed if you're somebody like Julio Jones or even Jamar Chase, who kind of wins, not with size in the sense of height or arm length, but with size just in the sense of how strong he is at the top of the route. So Kayshon Boutee, more route manipulation at the top of the route. Can he do that to kind of sell certain things? And if he can, we're talking about somebody that's going to be a really good receiver. His quarterback situation, that might hurt him a little bit, right? You watch LSU and a lot of what Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, even Terrace Marshall, what those guys did in 2019, well, their quarterback threw 60 touchdowns, right? You don't have that at LSU right now. We'll see what Jaden Daniels transfer out of Arizona State, what he can do coming over there. But overall, there's a lot to like about him. I do believe that this is a guy, when it's all said and done, he'll be a first-round pick. Got to show me a little bit more at the top of the route. I think he's going to give me that. I saw it here and there, but just not consistently. But anyways, we're on to the next guy, Paris Johnson, guard/tackle out of Ohio State. We're going to talk about him next, but first we want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. And with the ever-increasing numbers and makes and models, it is now impossible for your local auto part chain store to stock all the parts that you need. Why endure often pointless and seamless questioning for them to only get the part that they have in their warehouse? You have a computer with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. So you're going to use it. And when you do use it, you're going to save time and money. All right, why choose to spend 30%, 50%, or sometimes even 100% more on the same parts from an auto chain store or dealership? And trust me, the dealerships, they will try to whoop you. They tried to whoop me 2 weeks ago. Family, we were taking a cross-country trip to Disneyland, and they're like, oh yeah, it's going to cost $400 to fix this motor piece in the AC unit. And I'm like, no way, I'm going to rockauto.com. Go to Rock Auto, much cheaper. All right, Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. And it's even easier now than ever to be a do-it-yourselfer because you got YouTube, right? And that's how I learned how to fix that motor. They have everything that you need, brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and new carpet as well. All right, go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts that are available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in there. How did you hear about us box? So they know that we sent you. All right, amazing selection, reliable low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. All right, guys, let's get into the last guy. And this is a person who's being listed as a guard and a tackle. Which position will he play? I'm not 100% sure. But I do know everything I saw, he was lined up at the guard position. All right, so we're talking about Paris Johnson, guard out of Ohio State. This is a big guy, long guy. And the thing that jumped out to me first, because especially when you see a guy inside that guard, it's like, all right, can he play on the move, right? Does he have to be in a specific type of scheme, power scheme, guys that can't really move as well, or maybe he moves well, but then he can't use his power? All right, I'm here to tell you Paris Johnson he's a guy that can play in any type of scheme. All right, at least from what I've seen so far. Very fluid movements, not clunky with his movements at all. I thought reaching the second level, he did an extremely good job of doing that. You still want to kind of focus on his movement skills here. And when you look at how he handled stunts, extremely well, being able to pass off guys, get out there and get to the next guy as well, coming in on a stunt, did a terrific job with doing that. Hand placement, for the most part, was good. I thought there were a few times where he was trying to maybe overpower guys a little too much. All right, but his contact balance was great. But let me get back to the overpowering defensive lineman. You hear a lot, right, at cornerback position. Like, if you line up in press, you need to get your hands on this guy, right? And you'd see sometimes cornerbacks try to, I don't want to say overcompensate, but try to be overly aggressive with getting hands on. And a lot of times what that does, man, is it'll almost put you at a disadvantage at the line of scrimmage because I'm trying so hard to get my hands on you, and then the receiver uses that tightness and that stiffness against you and makes you move. And a lot of times when you try to shoot both hands and really get a guy like that and you lean on him, all right, he uses your weight against you, it's going to be a bad rep for you. You want to focus more on your technique. And there were a few times where I thought Paris Johnson was maybe trying to crush a guy, and it made him end up off balance and really kind of lose that rep. Now, luckily for him, his quarterback is able to move a little bit in the pocket, and it didn't really hurt him or result in a sack, at least in the games that I saw. But that was definitely something that I felt like jumped out a few times. Nothing too crazy. And again, you're not going to see perfect snaps. Sometimes you do see a guy who it's a little boring when you're watching the offensive lineman, and it's like, man, this is a little boring. It's because he's just really just doing his job. And his technique is probably really sound, and it's really easy for him. All right. This wasn't as boring because there were some of those plays right there. But overall, I thought he moved his feet well on contact. All right. And that kind of contradicts the overly aggressiveness. It's not something that I saw all the time, but on contact did good. There were times where he would, in the run game, knock a guy off, knock him back, nice little good anchor, continue to move, reach the next guy, and then block him and not lose any type of balance. Sometimes, and I've seen this with a lot of offensive linemen that I've evaluated over the last couple of years, guys who, once they get on one guy, it's like, man, they kind of struggle to get to that next guy without losing some type of balance or power when they arrive at the next guy. I think he did a really good job of doing that. So handle stunt well, handle speed well. And that was another thing where, let's talk about Aaron Banks. That's a guy who I watch a lot because of the San Francisco 49ers. I felt like when guys gave him a lot of speed, it was like, oh, man, giving me speed, let me panic and just grab a guy. You don't want that, all right? Can you have a guy who handles speed well by, you know what? Okay, you're coming. I'm just going to work my I'm just going to work my feet. I have the ability to really get out there and get hands-on and be fine there. All right, so I thought he handled speed well. I thought he handled power well. I probably would have liked to see a little bit more bull rushes. That's something I did not see from him. So maybe because he's not on the outside, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't see the bull rushes as much. Maybe the teams he played against, I watched him against Minnesota and a couple other teams. But I do know one thing. He's listed as a guard and a tackle when you look at some of the draft rankings, and I only saw him at guard. So I am curious to see, because when you look at him, he definitely looks like a tackle. He's this long, lean guy, looks more like a tackle than a guard. Maybe there's some film out there where he was playing tackle, and I just missed it. But I went through, I watched 3 games of him at guard, and then I started clicking through other games that I have all 22 of to see, all right, is he at tackle in this game? Nope. Is he at tackle in this game? Nope. So I don't know when he played tackle. Maybe I have to go back to 2020 season and see if he's playing tackle in that year. But I did not see it last year, but that's something I'll be looking out for. All right. Will he play tackle this year? That's going to be a big question. Maybe they really like the tackles out there for Ohio State, who they have, Isaiah Prince, or, maybe they like the tackles that Ohio State had, and we're like, you know what, we're going to play out guard, and then, when it's your time, then, okay, we'll kick you out to tackle, and you'll do that. That's something. But then it's like, well, why wasn't he able to start at tackle the whole time? So then those questions start arriving. But you answer those questions with your play on the field. And so far, he's a guy who I really like, and there's somebody on Twitter, again, I told y'all, you want me to watch some prospects at Eric_Crocker on Twitter? Let me know if there's some prospects that you're interested in hearing about. Paris Johnson was a guy who someone said, hey, go watch this guy. I think you're going to like him. And I definitely liked him. Can he play tackle? I only see him at tackle. But overall, terrific prospect. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NFL Draft. And for your second listen, we want to thank you for making this your first listen. For your second listen, you got Locked On 49ers with myself and Brian Peacock. You got Locked On Chiefs with my co-host, who will be back tonight with John Harris, Ryan Tracy. He got Locked On Chiefs. But until next time, we'll see y'all. Peace.